Hey guys, I'm Victoria. I am going to be talking to you today about risk management. I was supposed to be giving this lecture to you guys in person, but things happen, as you can tell. So I'll be giving it to you from my backyard. Okay? Do your best to pay attention. I suck at making videos, but I'm going to do my absolute best. So let's do it. Before I start, I want to give you guys a situation. I really want you to pay attention. I really, really want you to think about, if this was you, what would you do? Okay? First, think of your knee-jerk reaction of, this is what I would want to do. And then maybe even think about, what would I do? All right? Because those are two very different things. So what you think you should do, and then what you think you would actually do. As you are now as a person, as you are as a leader right now. Okay, so the situation is you are climbing in the beautiful mountains of Wyoming. Okay, I don't know what sports you guys do, but climb, you go to the top, you come down, back and forth, right? It's pointless, we love it, it's great. So you're at the top of this climb. It's the beginning of the day. It's just you and your crew, right? You and your 11 people, because we love to go in a crew. And all of a sudden you hear from down the crag, help, he's hurt. Okay? You're at the top of the climb. All you hear is, help, he fell, he's hurt. That's all you know. Now what? Right? Now what? You can imagine this situation is you as the trip leader, and I want you to do that. I want you to imagine as the trip leader what you would do. As a participant, it's very, very easy just to have the bystander effect and be like, the leaders will handle it. Or, I don't know about you guys on your core expedition, but it's easy, I feel like, for you guys to all immediately just start running around and not talking to a single leader. That's an assumption. But that's what happens when you get a lot of leaders together, is no one's the leader, everyone's the leader. But in this situation, think of yourself as the sole leader and what you would do. Okay? And we'll come back to that. All right, quick introduction. My name is, again, Victoria. I'm an old Orgeteer who graduated in December 2016, a while ago. I had a huge Orget career. I poured my heart, soul, and my grades into Orget. By the time I graduated, I had gotten Orgeteer of the Year award, which I absolutely adored. I still am, a senior trip leader in rock climbing. I was a VP of Resources, the VP of Rock Climbing. I was a Tech Treks Southeast coordinator for all the trips. I was the LCC manager and the Outpost manager. I think my greatest accomplishment, though, was I was privileged enough to be able to lead 9 different expeditions. So I did Alaska, I did Iceland, Virginia, Squamish, so on and so forth. I even did some of your core expeditions, which was pretty fun. But I think by far I learned the most from the expeditions, whether it was the staff expeditions or the Tech Treks expeditions. I am who I am today because of those trips. So don't take it lightly, okay? All right, so we're talking about risk management, right? I know a lot about risk management, not only from my previous experience through Orget, but I currently, or did after I graduate, I taught and teach the Wilderness First Aid and Wilderness First Responder courses. So if you guys take those next year, you should probably see me around. I like to pick on the Georgia Tech students because you guys are smart and because it's kind of fun to mess with you. I was an EMT in Atlanta for about a year and a half. So if you ever called 911, you might have seen me on the truck. So I saw a lot of crazy things that way. And then I am currently in physician assistant school. I will be going to Madagascar in October, hopefully still, to do my general surgery rotation for 5 weeks, which is going to be amazing. And then hopefully I graduate next May, and you'll see me in an ICU, an emergency department somewhere. And then I'll be formulating my schedule so that I can still obviously go outside, but what I really want to do is volunteer my services to different medical teams in areas like Nepal or wherever else, right? So lots of exciting stuff. lots of risk management, lots of medicine. I might be tying some of that medicine in just because that's what I know. And a lot of times when you do have crazy situations in the backcountry, it does have to do a little bit with medicine. So if you haven't taken WUFA or WUFR, you need to, because there's no worse feeling in the world than your participant, your friend, or yourself getting hurt, and you have no idea what to do about it. No idea. You just watch them, okay? Or even worse, thinking you know more than you do and making it worse, right? Now, it's a little heavy, but if you ever want to call yourself a leader, then you need to be a leader in all things, and that includes WUFR. All right? Cool? Okay, that's my spiel for that one. So let's talk about risk management for a little bit and how to be a leader and the skills that you would need and so on and so forth, all right? From what I know, you guys are groomed to become wonderful outdoors people and wonderful leaders through all of your core experience. So I won't harp on it too much. I'll try mostly to focus on stories a little bit. But the biggest thing with risk management is think ahead, all right? Myself as a person, I am very relaxed. I mean, look what I'm wearing. Come on. I'm getting a presentation. I'm in my t-shirt. I am very relaxed, very all over the place. I'm type B as type B goes. I think chaotically. You will never find me with a chronological, alphabetical bookshelf, right? If you looked at my bookshelf right now, they're all over the place. And that's who I am as a person. Now, if you saw me as a leader, you would never guess that. Never guess that. Not because I magically transform into this fantastic leader when I go on trips, but because I have the experience and I've listened to my superiors and I've seen what it looks like when I screw up. And I've seen what it looks like when I said, oh, it'll be fine, right? We all do that, especially on personal trips. We'll say, oh, I'm sure it'll be fine. And then something else happens. And then, oh, I'm sure that'll be fine. And then usually, most of the time, it is fine, right? I mean, we've all been there. We've all been there, even when we got ourselves into super sticky situations where it's been fine. And we've got this really cool story to tell at parties. And we could have done something better, but it was fine. Until it's not. All right? Until it's not. And that's what I want you guys to take away from anything I say, is that I never want you to get to a point where you will regret the decisions you made and you can't change the result. Does that make sense? Now, I know that's heavy for a wonderful Monday night, but it's true. As someone who took a wrong turn and didn't get to that baby who wasn't breathing fast enough, would it have made a difference? I don't know. But I could have done something better, and I didn't because I didn't think ahead, and now I'll never be able to change that result, right? I hope you guys never ever have to get there. And on that note, though, sometimes things do happen. There's nothing you could have done better, all right? That's just life. But risk management is taking every little bit of information, piecing it together, and then thinking 10 steps ahead, okay? When you're on trips, nothing is too small, okay? We thought about where we parked, not only for risk, but time management. Why would I park over here when I could park over there and it's gonna be much quicker? We'll get them packed and ready to go. How do we unpack? How do we repack? What exact instructions do I give to these people so that it's most efficient, that nothing's lost in communication, so on and so forth. So, where I'm getting with all of that is that I want you guys to just think ahead and to do your best not to think it'll be fine, okay? I would rather you always have it just be fine because you were overly cautious instead of being underly cautious, and you have that 1 in 100 chance where you're going to regret it forever. Okay? Now, on some lighter notes, because sorry, I do this when I teach in the medicine classes too. I'll tell you a really dark story and then I'll be like, okay, now, next. So, here we were, darkness. Now we're going to transfer to, yay, it's fun to lead trips, we're excited. Okay, so it's fun to lead trips. You just got to think ahead, okay? And I'm just going to throw some things out at you guys that you need to take notice of that I didn't even think about, right? The first trip I ever led was with Matt Marcus. Hopefully, most of you guys know him. If you don't, he's basically Nobby. He was Nobby for years and years and years. He just recently left. So my first trip was him. He is the mastermind of people, of emotional intelligence, of communicating, of risk management, of everything. Mastermind, okay? I learned everything I know from him, and then I just added on throughout the years. So little things to think about. 1, you and your co-leader need to be on the same page. And I'm not just talking about, oh, we get along, it's great, we're the same person, blah, blah, blah. No, that's stupid, all right? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about by the end of your trip, you and your trip leaders should be able to share a look and know what the other person is thinking, okay? You won't get there right away, right? I've led trips where I've actually had to have a conversation with the person and say, hey, we need to get on the same page. You're contradicting me in front of the students too much. I don't know how we get there, but we need to get there. And it's always worked out. By the end, we look at each other, we know what we're thinking, right? You and your co-leader being on the same page means having secret meetings with just you guys every night, every morning, checking in. What are your observations? What are my observations? What do you think for today? If this happens, what should we do? If that happens, what should we do? Same page, whole time. You don't have to be the same person, but you need to be on the same page. And you guys need to be making simultaneous decisions. Whenever I make a decision, a rapid decision, because you just have to sometimes, in front of the participants, I would always look over to my co-leader. They would give a little nod, and then we would go for it, right? And that was all I needed to keep going. So you guys need to be on the same page. If you're not, your trip's going to be way more difficult, and one of you might make a mistake without realizing it, okay? Another aspect is that you need to really pay attention to your group, okay? Most of you are going to lead trips, and everyone's going to be fine, right? Like I said, you're all going to come back. Most, if not all, of the trip is going to happen. You might have little scrapes here and there, but everything's going to be fine. You guys are better than just fine trips. Okay? I'll say it again. You guys are better than just fine trips. You need to have amazing trips. And that means the small details, and that means watching your group. Okay? So when I mean watching your group, is if it's a group between your peers, those are honestly the most difficult. Include them in the decision making. See where you're lacking in the group. Are there cliques that are formed that you need to just somehow break up? Are there people getting left behind in skills or at conversations? Are the people overwhelmed by having so many people around all the time? You need to be constantly watching your group and seeing where their strengths are, where their weaknesses are, and then confer with your leader and say, how do we bridge this gap? Right? Little things that we've done in the past is, if we had a group who was too type A, good Lord, too type A, we would take them on mystery adventures, right? Where we would say, today we need you guys to practice not asking questions and just trusting us. They didn't know why we did that, but we saw their weakness, so we tried to adjust. Or if we had a group who didn't plan enough, me and my co-leader, we would completely step back and say, okay, you and you're the leaders for today. Go, right? And we didn't just abandon them. Did you see what I'm saying? It was adjusting day by day according to what your group needed. Or if there were cliques, we would create little games or create our leaders of the day in a way that would force those cliques to break up. You know, put two people together who are quieter, put two people together who don't really talk to each other too much to try to make a more cohesive group. If you have high emotional intelligence in your group, you're going to have an amazing trip. If you include your people on the decisions, if you adjust their strengths and weaknesses, you're going to have an amazing trip, okay? Don't just focus on the activities. It's not just about the activities. Anyone can take someone out for a day of kayaking and get them home safe, mostly. What you guys need to do is to have those additional life-changing experiences in there that really are going to stick with these people forever. So your leader, your group, and then of course, safety, right? Logistics. Like I said, I am so relaxed. When I go on a trip completely by myself, I kind of just show up somewhere sometimes and hope for the best, right? Wouldn't advise that. It's not the best risk management strategy, but you know what I mean, right? That's just who I naturally am. On a trip though, you've got your plan, you've got your backup plan, you got your backup plan to your backup plan, you've got the weather 10 days ahead of time, you've got your backup camp site, your if someone gets hurt, where do we go? If someone gets hurt, where do we call? If my phone isn't working, what do I use? So on and so forth. You've got your logistics. Because if something does happen, the last thing you want to do is say, shoot, I should have printed out backup number 3 because 1 and 2 aren't panning out and now we're screwed, right? 3 backups, that's a lot, right? And you can only go so far. But being over prepared is going to save your hiney. It really, really is, right? I had a trip where one of our participants did not tell us, and this will happen all the time, that they were recovering from a chronic illness that really zapped them down. They should not have been out there. But we didn't know. They didn't tell us. Day 2 of the backpacking trip, they were done. Their body was not handling it anymore. And we had to adjust. What do you do? What do you do when you're in the middle of the backcountry and your person can't move anymore? All right? You have to be able to factor that in and figure it out, all right? Because you're the leader and you're the one they're depending on. So, again, I usually like these things in that I can talk to you guys, pick your minds about these different situations, but unfortunately I can't do that today. So I'm going to just go back to that bear story, or I'm sorry, not the bear story. I'll talk about the bear story. I'm going to go back to that hurt person story, through what I did, and maybe bring up a couple of other stories, and then just see what you guys think about them. So when it came to, I was climbing with my expedition team. I was at the top of a climb and someone said they're hurt. All right, someone fell, they hurt. Okay, there's these 2 guys that were with us. They're the only other ones on the crag, so one can only assume it was them. Okay. Now, step 1, what you learn in your medicine classes, that the first person is you. Okay, in a situation, the first person is you. Second people to think about are your group. Third people to think about is the patient, okay? Seems heartless? Yes, absolutely seems heartless. For some reason, all us outdoor people have this weird hero complex, and I 100% have that hero complex. But I tell my people in every single class, if the time it took you to make sure you're okay, to make sure your group's okay, in that time, to grab your stuff, to make sure everyone's fine, and then eventually get to your patient, if they did not make it in that time, they were not going to make it anyway, okay? Now, I want you to think about that, because what you'll see in movies and what you'll see everywhere else, especially people who aren't trained, is they'll start running immediately to whoever's hurt, to the screaming. What that's going to do is, the only thing that's going to do is potentially get you hurt, potentially put your group that you're in charge of in a bad situation, and then what are you going to do for that patient if now that you've created the situation worse, okay? So 1, never run to people, because you don't know if it was a rock that got him, it was an animal, right? And if you're a patient, you're not going to be able to help them. Make sure you're safe, make sure your group's safe, and then get to your patient, okay? Like I said, if that extra 10 seconds that it takes to do all that, they didn't make it, there's nothing you can do, okay? So do not forget that. Do not forget that. So I was at the top of the climb. I told my person, hey, I need you to lower me calmly, not in a hurry, right? The last thing I want to do is my belayer to be panicked and just let me go. Okay, so hey, can you go ahead and let me down real quick? They let me down. I untied and I started walking over to where they were. I made sure my belayer was okay. As I walked past the people, I said, hey, are you good? Are you good? So-and-so, I need you to be in charge of the group. Okay, so then I transferred that power to this person and said, I need you to be in charge of this group, and now that's taken care of. Okay, so I'm good, the group is good, right? And then they can obviously come to me if something crazy is going on. Then walk over to the patient. They weren't wearing, or they actually were wearing helmets. They had just bought them that day, which, you know, thank the Lord. There was the wall. There's like this huge 6-foot boulder. It was like shaped like a knife, of course. So they were climbing in between these two. The climber was leading and he fell at the second clip. So when he fell, he hit the back of his head on this jagged rock and was kind of slumped in between the rock and the wall. So obviously there was a lot of bleeding. I made sure that my group was taken care of, and then I allocated responsibilities to 2 or 3 other people and told them, you guys are with me and we're going to take care of this patient, okay? And that's a whole nother story. I have medical experience, so I'm able to do that. If you do not have medical experience, then know beforehand who does, and then make sure that those are the people that are allocated to your patient while you are in charge of everything else. If that makes sense. So know what your resources are. We were able to call 911 because we had service, thank God. And then they came in with this really nifty device, put him on it, and took him out. And he was fine. He looked like he head bleeds. Her head wounds tend to bleed a lot. But he was fine. He had a concussion, and they took him out. So we actually got pretty lucky on that one. But what if we hadn't had service? What if we had to carry him out? What if he was in way worse condition than what he was? Right? You have to be thinking about all of those things simultaneously while you're taking in real live time what's going on. And a lot of times, and if you take Woofer, you can practice being the big leader who delegates to so. You need to take a step back and then just play chess, right? Get these resources moving and just watch it all happening at the same time, because it is kind of difficult to be able to take care of this patient while handling all this simultaneously. But you do your best with the situation. Let me think. Another fun story was our bear story. So we were in Alaska. It was 2 or 3 days of backpacking with our freshman babies. Me and my co-leader had we had run out of water purification drops, which was a huge misstep on our part. Talking about risk management, I had not checked him to make sure that he had packed them, the extra ones, and that he did not double check that he had either. So it was both of our faults, right? That we didn't have enough water for purification. So by that time we had run out of drops. We had communicated to our group like, hey, this is the situation. It's fine. We're gonna boil our water tonight. Okay. Tomorrow's our last day. If we run out of fuel, then we'll make a fire, right? So on and so forth. If we run out, we can't make a fire, if it's too rainy or whatever, then this is our escape route. So on and so forth, right? We didn't tell them all of that because there is a specific art to how much information you divulge, how much information you do not, and how you tell people certain things. But that was our plan. So we were, at at this campsite, you hike kind of down to this lake, beautiful lake, and then you hike back up to this little hill, and then at the top of the hill is your campsite. And at this campsite, we started boiling the water. We had a process going, right? Boom, 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 flushing them out. And then while we're doing all this, the sun was starting to set. Everyone was in good moods. These hikers just come on by and say, "Hey, just so you know, there's 2 grizzly bears at the bottom of the hill." All right, we hiked past them. We're like, cool, yeah, no big deal, whatever. So obviously that's not what me and my co-leader were thinking in our head. We did our little mind read thing. We stood up and we walked over to see if we could look at the bottom of the hill and started discussing, what do we do, right? We don't have enough water boiled right now for tomorrow, and we don't know if there's another source of water if we keep going, so we need to take that into consideration. We don't know exactly where these bears are. We could be hiking towards them. They just said somewhere down at the bottom of this hill. They might not even be coming up this way. They could have been way farther back. We don't know. But from a risk management standpoint, worst case scenario, those bears come to us, right? That's the absolute worst case scenario. So how do we mitigate that? We move. So we told our group that, hey, we do need you guys to pack quickly. Don't panic. It's fine. We're gonna be fine. Just pack up your stuff. We're gonna hike another mile or 2, right? In my head, I was like, oh, God, go. We have to go now. But to them, cool, calm, collected, whatever. It's fine. So we packed up. We went down another mile or 2, and it's like this, right? Which no one's happy about. We did get lucky that we hit another water source. And we were in a relatively flat location, so we were able to camp there. So we did all that, finished boiling our water, set up camp, and we looked across the way with our binoculars and saw that exactly where we were is where the bears were. So we had made a good call there, right? Because what would we have done if in the middle of the night those bears were at our campsite? That would have been horrible. So right, the issue with all these stories is that at the end when they're like, oh, it's fine, it's kind of like this pandemic. Everyone's like, well, I don't see any problem, right? Everyone's saying, oh, social distancing, we're overreacting, so on and so forth. That's the point of public health, of medicine, of leading trips, is if you did your job right, the end of the story is anticlimactic. No one dies, right? No one dies. No one gets hurt forever. No one's trip's ruined. So on and so forth. And that's all you can ask for, is an anticlimactic story. So just keep that in mind. That's our goal, is an anticlimactic story and a trip that these people can take with them for the rest of their lives. I kind of want to tell you guys more stories, but I'm almost hitting 30 minutes. And I'm kind of tired of talking. I don't know if you guys got much out of this. I really do wish I was able to sit with you in person, because I had all these fun scenarios planned out that I was going to ask you guys what you would do and how you would react, and then just talk about it. But again, unfortunately, we cannot. So you just had to sit here and watch me talk for half an hour. If anything, I just want you guys to remember that there's no greater honor than being in charge of a group, and to not be too big for your britches, because no one is. No one's bigger than the weather. No one's bigger than not having enough resources. No one's bigger than a sprained ankle 10 miles in, and now how do we get this entire group to finish hiking when this one person can't move? No one's bigger than any of that, okay? And it'll happen like that, right? Like Navi always likes to say, is that your biggest catastrophes are a cascade of failures. If I had been more cautious in step 1, we wouldn't now be at step 7, and we wouldn't be in this situation. So don't screw up at step 1, okay? Be overly cautious. Be that person that says, we need to turn around, and be the bad guy. Even though it probably will be fine, you're losing your bike tracks in the snow. No one knows where you are. It'll probably be fine. You can probably turn around and figure it out, but what if you can't? So be brave enough to tell your peers, to tell your participants, no, I'm sorry guys, we have to turn around. Because the potential risks are too great for me to say it'll probably be fine. Okay, don't be that person. So I'm really excited to potentially meet you all one day. I hope you guys are fantastic leaders. Like I said, leading trips changed my life. Being led on trips changed my life. I want to keep doing this kind of stuff for the rest of my life. If you guys have any questions about any of the stuff I've done before, any stuff I'm hopefully going to get to do, let me know. If you have any fun medical or like crazy outdoor stories, please tell me. I love to hear them. I love to tell them, but I also love to hear them. And hopefully I see you guys in medicine courses in the future. If I pick on you too much, don't worry. It's nothing personal. I just like to do it. And yeah, keep being great. Yeah. Bye, guys. Good luck on everything.